Hi guys. I was in selfie mode, so I didn't even realize that I started recording, and I hope everybody is fine, everything is good. And in keeping with my word, I am talking about things to look for in Bay Part 2. You know, these days, I mean, everybody been talking about MCMs and WCEs and whatnot. But the question is, are we looking at the things that we need to be looking at, or is it that we are focused too much on the external, and chances are relationships are not going to go anywhere, and only so far, because of the fact that our focus is not where it's supposed to be. So I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and I was saying that these days I do not know what people are really looking for in a mate. You know, I think that we're so jacked up in social media and the picture taking and looking cute and stuff like that, that we forget that there's actually a life behind the scenes that matters a whole lot. You know what I mean? And like, I had this quote that I did recently, that says, it's not about the show that we can put on in public, but it's about what happens behind the scenes. You know, people sometimes would open a door for you in public or pull a chair, and behind the scenes, that ain't happening. Not happening. It's all about the impression that people get on the outer world so that they can think we're a cute couple. We're cute. So the last time I talked about being unequally yoked and, people getting involved with people who don't believe in God, have no desire to God, they don't want to pray, they don't want to go to fellowship, and sometimes they're atheists. People choose that they don't want to believe in God. Some people believe that there's a God, but there's probably not a God. So for those of us who believe in God and that we know that there's a creator, it makes sense for us to be with creation as well. People who believe in a God, that we are created beings, that we did not come from some strange matter, but God took his time to make us as human beings in his own image and likeness. And so we want to give God the praise. Because what happens when we don't praise God? We find ourselves praising or worshiping something else, which becomes an idol at some point in time. And most times those things will work out because God wants some time with us, and he will do things to get our attention sometimes. Alright, so some things that we want to look at and take very, 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 very seriously when we are looking at a mate is, 1, honesty. And something I tell people all the time, before we start even thinking about what we want in a mate, we have to start firstly thinking about, who am I? And am I a good mate? Will I be a good mate? Would anybody be happy to have me? Will I be bringing a blessing into someone's life? Or will I be coming to cause them pain? What do I have to bring to the table in a relationship leading to marriage? What do I have to bring to the table? Because many times people have all these long lists of what they want in somebody. They want somebody who's this, they want somebody who's that. And then when you look at the individual, there's stark contrast difference to what they want in other individuals. So I tell women, be the type of woman you want in a man, in the sense that if you want an honest man, be honest. If you want a decent man, be decent. Why you think you qualified for a decent man if you are indecent? Why? And if you're an undecent man, why do you insist that you want a decent woman? Is it that you so want to go into someone's life who has a different standard to you to cause them pain and problems? Why? Why are you so selfish? Why? Why? Okay, so firstly, we need to ask ourselves if it is that we possess certain qualities that we can bring something to the table in a relationship. All right, and that's an individual thing, and that's why I talk about individual development in the last part one, things to look for in B. Individual development, because when we develop individually, then other people inadvertently benefit from our developments. Okay, so I'm saying that there are some basic things that we want to look at in ourselves before we want to go demanding or even think that we deserve or qualify someone who is all this and a bag of chips, as we say here in Trinidad. Right? So, I have to ask myself, do I have a sense of self-worth? Am I honest? Do I have a happy disposition? Do I get angry easily? Am I a problem solver? Or is it that I'm going to lament over a problem and not seek a solution and just be fussing and cussing over it all the time? Am I thoughtful? Am I a considerate person? Am I the type of person who would remember my partner's birthday? Would I be respectful of that person's job? And different things along the line. I mean, that will vary from person to person, how we can show them consideration. There are some basic things. And on the discussion of consideration, something that I recognize is that we are wired these days to think that being in a relationship these days, and even our early dating, is about just meeting, putting on a nice cute dress, doing our hair, the guys look cute too, and we go to dinner. Friends, your relationship is going to have so much more going on after the dinner. When all these novelties of the first months or whatever it is has come down to a neutral, we're gonna start looking for real things, because you get to realize you don't eat 24 hours. You don't dress up to look cute going anywhere for 24 hours. So you would want to look at conversations, the type of conversations, if you can rap. Communication is such a big thing. If the person is thoughtful, I mean, how you gonna be going to dinner with a guy who is coming to pick you up? Especially for my ladies out there who are living on your own. There's grass growing in front of your yard or trash or something, and the guy has not even offered to help you with that. And you are ready and on your way for marriage because you all look cute together or whatever the case is. Or you have, let's say you're a guy who's studying and you need maybe that support, that moral support, and the person is selfish. They complain all the time because you don't have time for them, and because they don't realize that you have to put in your hours into your studies so that you can be successful at it, or whatever the case is. Basic things that go a long way. Basic thoughtfulness, the remembering of special occasions, celebrating you. Everyone should be in that position where they're supposed to be able to celebrate the other person's achievements. These days we have people who are straight up competing. There are people who are straight up competing with each other when everybody's supposed to be on the same team. Alright? So it's that serious when it comes to consideration. And we can't ask somebody over dinner, so are you considerate? It doesn't work like that. It's through friendship and observation that you would be able to realize if the person is the least bit thoughtful or not. And these are things to be paying attention to. And like I was telling a friend yesterday, romance is one of the easiest things, that people can get around to in a relationship. The datings and the going outs and the da 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 da. Those things are easy. And those things are like second nature. What are not second nature these days is consideration. People actually being thoughtful of the other person. People actually being interested in bearing life burdens with one another. Sharing the issues of life. Everyone being able to carry their own, part of the burden, the weight. Do you understand me? So, this is something serious to think about. There are a lot of lazy individuals out here. And when you're planning to have a life together, the last thing we need is a lazy person. Is the person willing? And you would know they have a natural zeal to participate in activities, certain things. They will help your parents. They would be respectful of your parents. Because after all, that's the people who brought you into this world. I mean, of course, they didn't give you life. God gave you life. But they're the ones who brought you into the world. And they're the ones who grew you up. How do they treat your parents? These are some things. It goes on and on and on and on. And of course, sometimes, it varies from culture to culture. Sometimes what people are able to do, how far they can go in terms of being a part of another person's life. But thoughtfulness and consideration is a big chunk of the cheese, if I can put it that way. You have to look at if the person is responsible. Are they helping their parents with their bills if they're living with their parents? Are they even looking at paying their bills on things that are happening? I know, because we all get delays. Sometimes things happen and we sometimes behind a bit. So we can't judge people based on, a mishap here, a mishap there. Things happen. But in terms of, is it a normal mode of operation that the person is not paying attention to their responsibilities in life? Because that is going to filter into your life. You're going to be complaining, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? The person going to call you a nag. You're going to say you're miserable because they don't even understand their responsibility in life yet. And that's so important. Are they willing to grow? Are they willing to grow? Because there are people sometimes you try to share, your development with, and, there's always room for improvement in our lives. But there are some people who they're very unteachable. They believe that they know it all. Sometimes they don't know anything at all. And you can't even tell them something that can help them improve their own self, because they have a lot of pride. They're very puffed up, all kinds of crazy stuff, things to pay attention to. You can't always ask these questions too. Are you proud? Are you a bad mind man or a bad mind woman? You can't ask that question. You have to pay attention to things like that. Do they love children? Something that's very important. Do they like kids? Do you want kids? Do you want kids? And sometimes you may not even necessarily be able to have kids. That's the situation in some people's life. And of course, there's wonderful adoption, and there is the nieces and the nephews and other people's kids that you can absolutely enjoy. Ting ting. But how people treat with kids around them can tell a lot about sometimes how they would even treat with you. Kids. What about affection? Are they affectionate? No, I know this is a very tricky one, because of course you don't want people throwing themselves on you because when they're getting to know you. But you would be able to tell from subtle, simple things that they do if they are naturally affectionate, or if they're not. There are some people who do not know how to be affectionate at all. For some people, affection is sex. They don't know how to just be, controlled with how they may just, either give a warm hug, and or they may simple things, simple basic things. And I think even opening a door, pulling a chair, sometimes removing the paper on your straw, getting you a napkin, basic little things like that is ways and means of affection, without people being overly mushy. Or ready to just throw their frame on you, like, yeah, let's get freaky or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? We really don't need that. Okay. So yeah, I these are some basic tips on some things that we should ask ourselves. Are we this person? Am I thoughtful? Do I love kids? Am I affectionate? Am I responsible? Do I have a good personal hygiene? Am I easily angered? Am I happy? Am I a happy person? Am I always sad and miserable and all those kinds of things? Am I up for change and growth? And do I have a sense of self-worth? What about a sense of what about a sense of humor? Do I have a relationship with God? Things that we should be asking ourselves. And when we ask ourselves, we will grow. And these are things we should also be asking ourselves about the person that we will be getting close to. Of course, the list is not exhaustive. And I'm sure there are other things that you would want to look at. Personal relationship with God is so, so, so important. How do you get through life without praying? I don't even know how some people live that life. I don't want to live that life. And you know what? There's nothing, in my opinion, more attractive than a man, well, me being a female, of course, a praying man, a man who loves to pray, a man who's like, let's pray about it. A sincere praying man, not one coming around like acting like a praying person just because they know you're a person love God and you would like that. You would know. You wouldn't always have to prompt them. They would just naturally want to pray about situations that come up without you having to put in too much effort. And then, of course, you being a person who wants to pray to love the Lord, you too will give that encouragement. So when things look like you've met with the Red Sea, you're between Pharaoh and his army and the Red Sea, because we have those kinds of issues in life. You want a partner who would be on their knees by your side, be it male or female, depending on your gender, praying through that situation. So I hope this was able to be, some enlightenment for you. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves questions and we have to look for the answers in people. Look at people. How participative are they in your life? There are some people, they just find you're outwardly attractive. They want to take you out. They want people to see you. But they don't know you. They're not trying to get to know you. They don't know your likes, your dislikes. That you're a real person behind there, that you have trials and troubles on a daily basis and you need a friend. And the best people, I believe, that we can find ourselves in long-standing relationships with heading to marriage is someone who is literally a best friend. So I love you. I hope that this was able to shed some light for you, and I pray God's blessings on your life, and that you depend on him and that he guides you, even in terms of making relationship decisions, because these are very, very serious life decisions. Okay, God bless you, and until next time, remember your creator in the days of your youth.